Awesome. Recording is on. So, yeah, thanks for joining again. And if you haven't watched the other recordings or the other discussions, the recordings are available in the OpenStack Manila YouTube channel. So please take a look at them. And if you have any questions, thoughts, feedback, please let us know. Yeah, so we are back to discuss a couple of tech debt items. We've covered event let removal. Now let's get back to testing with Ubuntu 24 LTS and CentOS Stream 10. There are a couple of things here on this topic, like a bunch that we might need to talk. Gotham, would you like to cover this, or would you like me to?
I can get started. So this is probably informational that we every time a new LTS release of Ubuntu comes, we try to update some of the common jobs that we have. This is in no way an endorsement that we're only testing OpenStack on Ubuntu or something, but it has historically been um, the, uh, the the distro that has been in many of the jobs, and so we do want to make sure these test jobs are moving to the next version that's more supportable as far as the distro goes. Um, so that's the idea over here, and it happens in a coordinated manner only because these test jobs are parented on top of common test jobs that are living in DevStack or in Tempest repositories. And so right now, I think there's the effort to do this has started with and the migration is to 2404 LTS, and it's broken all over the place. So this happens each time we try to change the distro, and many times it's not not a shared driver that's broken. It's mostly there are missing packages, there are changes into the API that we're calling from the test setup perspective, such as like we're trying to create a dev stack, and we assume that there's a package and there's some commands that we can execute, except maybe the package went away, and we need to switch to an alternative or something like that. So that's the parts that we are working through at the moment. For instance, I think Ceph ships with Ceph Atom, and it assumes some things about AppArmor, and that part is broken with some changes that are there in Ubuntu Noble. Um, and so that part is informational only. We're trying to get those jobs worked out, and there is no impact on the gate unless these jobs work. We're not going to switch over to using Ubuntu 202404 as the base distro. At the same time, we're going to have to start testing CentOS Stream as well, the latest versions. And the Manila image elements ships a test image for our own CI use cases, and the test image over there has either been CS9 or it has been Ubuntu 2204, and so we need to bump that as well. And that's something that every time we do, we realize that some changes, again, same things with packages or even the resources that are required in our tests. So we might have to follow that up with some sort of changes to the flavors that we play around with in the Manila Tempest test jobs. Um, and at the same in the same flavor, I think as we sunset um, jammy images, that is 2204, we have a whole bunch of job variants that we had created because we were using jammy alongside focal, and so all of those can go away now, because we don't really rely on those job definitions anymore on branches where we have all this old infrastructure that we're testing with. So we don't rely on the job definitions that are there on trunk, at least. So it'll be a good cleanup opportunity. I think we just have to be a little sane through that effort, because we tend to also conflate a lot of job variants, and it becomes very hard to maintain. So some of the things that we have to worry about with this noble transition, one is the tox jobs. This is wait and watch, I suppose, because we don't own the tox job runner. It's in the base Zool jobs repository. So when that moves, we just have to verify that the Manila Talks jobs are all still passing, and are working fine. I think they are. We just ran a test job against it, and everything looks fine. In Python Manila client, we have a functional job, which is a lot like the DevStack jobs, but it's not exactly the same. So we might hit some issues with migrating that. And in Manila image elements, these are tox jobs, and hopefully will be covered by the changes that are coming from upstream. And Manila UI derives from Horizon. So I suppose we need to go see how the Horizon jobs are faring. So because if we have some fundamental failures that are there when setting up Horizon, these are best dealt with in the Horizon project. Manila specs, again, tox jobs, so should not be a concern. uh, Inside the specs repository itself, I think whatever changes are being made in the tox jobs will just automatically get. um, Yeah, so that's the short version of things. This is a community goal, which means you'll see this being worked by a lot of different people, um, and we'll present status through this release. And we are hoping to have all of this transition done by M1 or M2, so that we don't really hit any issues merging other unrelated code in M3 and beyond. Yep. So I'll pause there, Carlos. Any questions, or you want to add anything?
No, yeah, I think it's yeah, perfect overview. Thank you. Um, for like,
One question, one
yep.
question. Yeah, sorry, sir, I'm here. So even if you when you get onto Noble, right, this 24.04, still you'll rely on node pool, right? Zool, node pool, those concepts will remain there, right?
Yeah,
You're not
yeah, yeah,
coming out of that concept.
yeah, exactly. Notebook will be
Okay.
creating the images that we're
A
using.
new image you'll create. Yeah, that image will be uploaded, and then VMs will be created. That VMs will be using for all the jobs. So that
Yeah,
concept still say, yeah, we are not coming out of that. Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Thank
we're
you.
just changing the underlying distro
Okay.
from from Jammy to Noble.
Okay.
We have and part of this, I think, is we discussed something yesterday that might affect you as well, Saravanan, which was when we moved to Jammy from Focal, we lost the ability to do IPv6 testing. And part of the reason there was because we were using some packages on Jammy that were no longer, sorry, on Focal, that were no longer available on Jammy.
Okay.
And we never found the time to to rewrite those parts of DevStack plugins, so that we can take advantage of the new packages and set up IPv6 the right way.
Okay.
As in, we started, we didn't get anywhere with it. This is somewhere I think you folks can help, because you're running this in the third-party CI, and you're probably testing IPv6 as well. Um, so I mean, or at least you seek to. So we should probably collaborate there.
Sure, sure, Gautam. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about this transition? I think one concern that happens is DevStack. Continue to use Jammy? Uh, 99% of the time, or rather 100% of the time, whenever we make any of these transitions, Manila will not be the one breaking support on any of these distros. It's very straightforward, even when we're setting up Manila's dev stack, that the packages that we install, or the things we do are totally compatible with multiple releases of distros. But I have seen a case where sometimes libvirt has some features that we're relying on, and that's not available in the version of libvirt that ships, and so that's why we break distro compatibility. So, for example, you cannot do DevStack with Focal if you enable Nova and so on with Trunk. So I am hoping that doesn't happen with Jammy. So you in as a local development environment, you can continue to use Jammy for a while. But I'm interested and folks should probably start using Noble in case you were using Jammy in the past. as your local dev stack environment.
Yep. Thanks. And as far as like testing with CentOS Stream 10, yes, there's like the things with manila image elements, but also we have currently, I think, only one job running using CentOS Stream in the Manila repositories or Manila Tempest plugin, which is the fifth job. That's the only one that we are yet to migrate. But it's I believe it should be smooth moving to CentOS Stream 10, and that I can take a look at that. Awesome. Any other questions? Right. So I think we can move on to the next thing, um, which is stable branch changes. Yeah, that's we. There was like I, I can cover this, or would you like to, Gotham?
No, it was related to this,
Oh yeah.
and it's again an informational topic. I think we have.
Yes.
Uh, I think you brought this up yesterday that we have a lot of unmaintained branches.
Yes.
What that means is that we're not actively looking at them. We're not testing them. These are open still, just so that if folks are relying on these branches, they could take some bug fixes over there. But we totally rely on people helping us maintain these unmaintained branches, and there isn't a lot of help. And this is true of all of the OpenStack projects. It's very hard to find the resources to dedicate to these really old branches. And on top of these five unmaintained branches, I think as far as stable branches go, these are maintained. We have Antelope, we have Bobcat, Caracal, Dalmatian now. So we're maintaining four stable branches um, alongside five unmaintained branches, but as the name goes, we're not really maintaining them. So that's the idea. I think this is time to keep pruning it. Um, so I suppose the open question is, how do we prune it? One is we could just send an email to and help and get some help from the release folks to sunset those unmaintained branches. So what that means is we are going to EOL them. They can just be closed. They'll disappear from our Git sources and so on. And there is probably going to be a tag for the last change that merged with the last change that merged into these branches. That'll help because it'll probably reduce the confusion or that folks might have about whether or not these branches are available for code changes. And the next thing that'll happen is Antelope itself is going unmaintained, which is the last stable branch that we have, um, or the earliest stable branch that we have at the moment.
Yes.
And this transition is expected at the end of October, so in the next week. Um, and I mean around the end of October, and that's just because we're going to merge the patch that releases the last bit sort of Antelope and so on. What does this mean? This means that no further releases from Antelope will be made by the upstream community, but the branch is still going to exist. While we want to prune the older branches that we don't want to care about, I think there are lots of deployments that are probably running 2023.1 um, or trying to upgrade to that. So it'll be left in an unmaintained state, which means that we will attempt with you, with anyone else that wants to land bug fixes over there. It is still possible, but we will not be tagging any releases. And testing will start to look degraded, and over time it will be degraded. Part of the reason is infrastructure can no longer keep up with all the changes that are coming. So we will start to see that jobs are starting to fail and so on. So we have to make some choices about how to how to get the best bang out of the buck, like basically try to get as much testing possible, that is without draining too many resources. So far we have not really touched the unmaintained branch test jobs, um, but we might have to start making some sacrifices.
Yes.
And I think to answer the question on whether the core team maintains these unmaintained branches, no, they don't. The Manila core, the group on Gerrit, does not have voting rights on these unmaintained branches. So that's yet another problem. Not a problem, but it's also intentional so that we don't spread around the limited resources that we have dedicated to this. On the other hand, I think in our second lives as Red Hatters, Carlos and I have some vested interest in maintaining the 2023.1 branch, just because Red Hat still relies on it. Um, so we might try to fix some things up for that branch. But all help is welcome in case you want to you care about a specific test branch. Um, Let us know.
Yeah.
And
And just to reinforce, like we have already delimited resources, right? And I think at some point we've kind of dropped a requirement that we had that like third-party CI should be voting on the changes. Yes, but at least what we expect is if you are proposing a backpart or if you are backparting a change from for a specific driver, it would be like a requirement for us, and we as like stable branch reviewers, we will always require at least one person from the like driver affiliation of that one maintainer of the driver to look at the change and to give like a +1 and let us know that this is okay, because otherwise like there's without the CI testing it's more difficult to understand if that change is going to actually break the code for the driver on that branch. So we rely on the maintainers to actually tell us what um, what should and what should not be merged. So we look at the back parts and we see, oh, this could be a relevant fix, and usually the maintainers are involved in that process as well. But I mean, the most important thing for us is the vote on the change. So please, as soon as you see a change being proposed to the driver and we tag you on it, please take a look at it because it's important. And without the driver maintainers votes, we won't merge the changes.
while we're here, maybe we can pick up some action items for this stuff. So there are 5 unmaintained branches. Is there anyone that is concerned about these branches, or can we start pruning them? It's unlikely that we'll delete all 5 at once. We can start a discussion, but from the oldest branch, we can start pruning it out, and we'll start. You'll see that the branches are gone on Gerrit, on Git, um, and that's the consequence of this. Any objections there?
The oldest ones we have unmaintained at the moment are Victoria and Wallaby.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm not sure, like people relying on Victoria and Wallaby at least, like we can come up with a plan of like sunsetting them slowly, um, and proceeding with the removal. But yes, the feedback on that would be important. And right after that, we would have like Zina, Yoga, and Zed. So those would be like the other branches. Maybe we should look at like a policy within this team and try to define. Look, this is the amount of time that a branch should be around. But I'm not sure if we also need to look at strong reasons and check on people that are actually using the code on those branches, which is challenging. But yeah, we rely on your feedback for that because we will bring up these discussions. And as Gotham just ask you if you care about those branches, and then we can have the discussion of dropping it or not. But for now, we would be looking at like the oldest branch that we currently have unmaintained, which is Victoria, at least.
Would the tags also be deleted, or can I still go back in history and by looking at the tags?
Tags will remain.
That's good.
The branches are more expensive only because we're maintaining some sort of CI for them. Even if we're calling it unmaintained, this does require our resources. So that's the
Yes.
all right. I can share some stats and we can kick off an email thread to the OpenStack discuss list and ask if any folks over there have any objections. And the stats will look like this, saying these were the last changes that we've merged in the unmaintained branches. Um, and probably these many times was when we found those useful because we were backporting a critical fix or a critical or a security bug fix and so on. Um, and that might help us decide whether there is any need to maintain those branches or keep those branches alone. Sorry, as I keep talking through this, to me, maintaining an unmaintained branch seems like an oxymoron in itself. But you know the conundrum that we are under.
Yeah. Thanks for the notes as well, Gotham. Um, Anything else to add, or any other questions on stable branch changes? It's like 4 minutes to the top of the hour, which is the last scheduled slot for us today. Yeah, we have a couple of other tech debt items. So yeah, I'm not sure. Should we try to tackle this in a future upstream meeting, or yeah, I think this room's free as well later after this, but I'm not sure. Yeah, if you guys, it's late in people's days, and this is like the time we've scheduled. So yeah, I'm not sure. How do you feel about that?
I think we can tackle it in weekly meetings, and you know, to keep things sane, we can end the session today and get back to it during weekly meetings. Or if we magically find time tomorrow, which I see a lot of topics, so we might have a lot of time. Just kidding.
No, no worries. Yeah, I think it tomorrow sounds a bit packed. But if this is the case, like we can use some also like a day slot on Friday. We have this slot that we intended to have a happy hour with the Manila contributors, but we can also use that slot for other discussions in case we don't manage to cover everything. I know it would be painful, like a Friday 4 p.m. discussing stuff from the PTG still, but I mean that's some time we would have as well. So uh, yeah, if that happens, I hope I can get you guys up here someday to make up for it. Uh, awesome. So I think that wraps up this discussion. I will also add a mention here to the this. We also had another topic for today, which was internships and priorities, and I'm not sure if we have time to cover for this. Um,
Probably
yeah.
not. We can tackle that also in a weekly meeting.
Yes. Awesome. Right. So let's wrap this up then. Thank you everyone for joining. It was great to have you here. I think we have like a lot of people in this room. So should we take a team picture today? We didn't take one yesterday. So I'll stop the recording.